Welcome home. This is Audio EXP for August 23rd, and the episode title is Pathfinder, J-TTRPGs and Media Empires. We are back after 1 week off to deal with the Edinburgh Fringe Chaos. For the second year in a row, Chaosium came and I failed to join their actual play in the library, but I have seen and reviewed about 60 other shows in the Edinburgh Festival Fringe, and that has involved some late nights, early mornings and combinations of go-go or sleepy bye drinks. Since we last spoke, Luke Gygax has been into the hospital to get his shoulder repaired. Thankfully, he also posted a follow-up on social media to say that the operation went well. Unfortunately, Liverpool-based TTRPG creator and reviewer Bud Baird has passed away after a short illness. It was Chaosium who themselves broke the news to many in the community. Infinite Reimagine won the RPG Publisher Spotlight this month, and I have managed to interview Michael Sayer. If you're a Pathfinder fan, you might recognise the name, as Michael led the effort to remaster Pathfinder into the second edition. Now, with Infinite Reimagine, he is working on JRPG, Japanese role-playing games, inspired tabletop role-playing games. That, as we find out in the interview, does not mean he's leaving Pathfinder far behind. Infinite Reimagine's games will be built on a torn down and then remade Pathfinder 2nd edition system. However, he's also keen to leave some what he calls D&D isms far behind. I asked about that, and here's a snippet of what he told me. One big thing right out of the gate is that we don't want to have spell slots or anything resembling Vankian casting. Our signature spellcaster, the Sage, has a variety of spell forms that they can use at will and modify with aspects that they can learn to master. You can read the full interview on the blog. This week, the news I heard people I didn't even know were into actual plays or D&D talking about was the news that Brennan Lee Mulligan has been appointed the GM for Critical Role's 4th season. On one level, this might just be about giving Matthew Mercer a break, although he is still playing. I think it's more than that, though. Critical Role are trying to build a stable company here, and hoping that everyone is always free to play a very long actual play live isn't that stable. Furthermore, I think they've got media commitments, such as we've seen with Amazon, and they've got other promises with Thariton Press, especially with Daggerheart doing well. Matthew and the rest of the team do have these responsibilities, and the company has to be more than just a side project or a way to handle taxes for them. People who have bought Daggerheart games will want sequels and so forth. So, I think the challenge has always been to find a way for the permanently popular Matthew Mercer to step out of the limelight, or just a little bit to the left. Getting their biggest rival, which I think dropouts are, on board and Brennan Lee Mulligan into the GM chair is a great way to do it. I call it a strategic masterstroke and discuss it on the blog. And we saw yet another rival launch this week, not a rival in the actual play space, in the fantasy tabletop space, as Son of Oak Game Studios brought out Legend in the Mist. This is a fantasy TTRPG that uses words to describe characters rather than numbers. The system has already proven itself in other genres. I noticed on ICV2 that Glass Cannon Unplugged and Genuine Entertainment have announced the Diablo TTRPG. This is the tabletop of the popular computer game. It's not impossible, but I will be surprised if this particular game eschews stats and dungeon crawling. Those are new games from last week, but we've also had news of challenges for games and, more importantly, for our new game publishers. The USA has removed the de minimis exception on some tariffs. Simply put, the old tariffs that Americans now have to pay for what companies imported into the US were normally placed on things that were done in bulk in large crates. The de minimis gave an exception to small things, like books or an individual board game. And oddly, it's not just the removal of the tariff loophole that the shipping companies are struggling to cope with, but the extra faff, the paperwork, the bureaucracy. There are costs that now both importers and exporters have to pay for that extra paperwork, and it all adds up to an impossible, but hopefully temporary situation. No wonder publishers like Infinite Reimagine are going digital first as a rule. And last week, I spoke to Alex and Nick of Liminal Artifact as they crowdfund Dreadnought War of the Heretic King. This will be the third and final book in the Exquisite Corpse series, and they've all been well received and look great. Bronwyn has not been idle. Not only has she been braving the crowds of the Edinburgh Festival streets, but she's been watching Alien Earth while nursing a miniature monster of her own. I'm pleased to say that the monitor lizard is doing better and that her dragon mother, Bronwyn, seems to be really enjoying Alien Earth. Timothy Oliphant gets a standout actor nod as Kirsch. If I have pronounced any of that wrong, it is the giveaway you needed to prove that I have not yet found time to watch the show. I will make time in a few weeks to attend the UK's largest D&D convention, and that is Tabletop Scotland. And by D&D convention, I mean the one running the most adventurous League games. I'm going there for all 3 days of the event, hoping to get there early, so I might be one of the people to get a free Dragonfolk mini from Bifrost. I think conventions are a great way to get into tabletop gaming. You do need to be brave enough to sign on to the player game sheet, but once you do that, you'll get experience and you'll be introduced to other gamers. In an article I prepared for August, anticipating the busy schedule, I argued that there is an epidemic of loneliness, particularly among men, and that tabletop RPGs offer a viable solution for some. I figured that's all well and good to say, but not practically helpful unless I also include ways to get started in the hobby, and events like Tabletop Scotland are one. There's one bundle to talk about, and it fits the theme, as the bundle unfolding has lots of Ironsworn offers for you. Not only is Ironsworn a popular TTRPG, it also has a great solo mode. That's our wrap. Keep safe, and remember that the Cyberpunk 2020 RPG has whole sections about defeating ice. See you next week.